Welcome to this interesting episode of Youth Hub. Like you already know, I am your host, Hosanna Okrafu. Today we address a pressing issue that continues to affect many of us, many of our parents, many of our friends, and especially the young girls in our country, which is human trafficking. Despite the numerous efforts being put in place by NGOs and governments and different organizations to end this menace, because it keeps persisting. And our discussion today aims to understand the root cause, the role of families and society, and how we can collectively combat this issue of trafficking and youth exploitation, particularly young girls being trafficked. This is a modern day problem. So we'll have to talk about this majorly, elaborate it shortly after the break. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. And just in case you're joining us, this is Youth Hub coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. And to join us on today's conversation is Honorable Aisha, who is indeed an idealist. She's also a humanitarian, and she is a chief head of an NGO. Welcome to the program today. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure to have you on Youth Hub, and I know that we are going to be able to tackle this. You are into it, and let's see. Thank you so much for joining us. Okay, now having been into NGOs and being a humanitarian, let's talk about this long-standing problem we've had, which is trafficking, and it's beginning to eat deep into us. I know that the population in Nigeria keeps becoming more and more, that it might not be noticeable, but what defines human trafficking, and how does it specifically affect young girls in Nigeria?
Okay. To my understanding, human trafficking is a severe criminal act, which involves the exploitation of individuals for adult slavery or commercial sex through force, fraud, or coercion. And how it affects young girls in Nigeria, particularly Gen Zs of our generation.
Why is there particularly Gen Zs? Is it just the Gen Zs
young generation? So Gen Z of our generation.
Okay, Gen Zs, take notes.
We are the millennium age, and the Gen Zs are more, I don't know,
should we say forward or something?
Yes, forward and prompt to this human trafficking.
Okay.
So I feel why they are particularly vulnerable is because of lack of some factors, lack of poverty, lack of education, social instability, lack of basic needs. We're also looking at there are things they would want, but they can't afford. Intimidation and all that. So these human traffickers tend to make use of those vulnerabilities from these young girls by giving them fake promises of materialistic gains, you understand, jobs, education. So, and this pushes them to sex exploitation and many other factors. So I feel these girls end up falling into physical and psychological trauma, which they get limited access to healthcare, education, and safe environment. So I feel the Gen Zs, like the female Gen Zs of our generation, need to be more careful, and they should not allow societal pressure push them to do things they don't want to, or maybe feel intimidated by the progress of other
young girls or people, or even higher people who are not even of their age.
Yeah, true. That's it.
Okay, now, so, this, when they say human trafficking, these people have something that they, use to lure people. What are the underlying factors contributing to the trafficking of young girls in Nigeria?
Okay, like I said, for one, poverty. That's a major drive.
Yeah.
Because most parents push out their children to go out and search for jobs and all that, and which makes those young girls or those young people vulnerable. Then secondly, we have lack of education, limited economic opportunities. So because of that, these human traffickers tend to exploit that opportunity to lure them into their trap and all that. So like I also said, social instability, lack of basic needs, societal pressure, conflict, displacement, economic inequality. So all those are like complex factors that causes this problem, human trafficking in Nigeria.
Well, okay, now let's look at family dynamics and societal pressures.
Okay.
Do you think they also influence, or how do you think they influence the trafficking of young girls in Nigeria?
Okay, for one, family dynamics. Every family have their cultural differences and practices.
Yeah.
Like early marriage, one,
Okay.
that plays a very pivotal role in this human trafficking. That's one. Then making your young girls feel less valuable than men.
Okay.
Yes, a lot of families do that. And like I said earlier, pushing your kids to go out to look for work. You understand?
Maybe at a young age.
At a young
or
age,
something.
like hawking and all that. We're not saying
But
it's
don't they
bad.
say you have to start hustling early? You have to start, doing things early so that by 30, 35, you're already retiring.
Yeah. But the
that.
mistake that these families make or these parents make is you do not impute or give your children, especially young girls, that basic education of these little things that matters. So if they don't have an idea, they just go out there, you understand, they feel is normal. They can fall into just one or two
those
traps.
traps.
So you have to be very careful and very observant of your kids. I'm sorry to say a lot of parents and this new age, I don't know, I don't want to be too, I'm trying to be careful with my words. Yeah, but I don't think they're really ready to be parents. Because you bring children into the world, especially young girls, and you don't give them that basic training and education of life. You and I are both women. We know how we grew up. You understand? Even if you grew up in a rich family, you get. There's that, we always want money because we want to buy fancy shoes,
Look
fancy
fine.
bag.
Or I think you're also being trained to feel like we have to set ourselves up competition or look better for the men or something like that.
No, I don't say it
think?
that way. I don't
Okay,
say it that
okay.
way, but I say it like as a woman, when you growing up, when you see a fellow woman like yourself, all dressed up, all pimped up, of course you want to look that way. So you feel intimidated for one. And you don't know her own source of income and everything, so you want to go out of your way to how do I put it, to look that good. You understand? And maybe you might start doing it, start bringing home some kind of things, and your parents are not questioning
where these things are
coming from. You understand? That is family dynamic.
Okay.
So, and also, like I said, that early marriage, whereby most parents just marry out their children very early without, maybe they are being pressured by society. What will people say? Your daughter, there are some families that feel once their daughter is 18, 19, she's already looking old at home.
Right.
They don't want people to start talking outside, so they marry her early. Why others are trying to reduce the responsibility of taking care of that young girl. So they marry her very early, putting the responsibility on someone else. You understand? Without trying to find out who that person is or if the person is worthy of your child.
Your child.
Yes. So I feel that those things really are a problem.
Okay, so we'll continue this conversation shortly after the break. Please stay tuned.
Are you ready to join the conversation shaping the future? This is YouthHub, your go-to TV show where youth ideas and impact collide. Want to tackle the tough questions? We delve deep into the topics that matters: youth empowerment, gender equality, leadership, and mental health, real stories, real struggles, real situations. And it's not all talk. We make it fun with live challenges, creative contests, and interactive segments. You're not just watching the show, you are part of it. Catch YouthHub every Thursday at 3 p.m. on Global Television. Be heard, be seen. YouthHub, fueling dreams, sparkling change, and amplifying your voice.
Welcome back, and just in case you're joining us, this is YouthHub, and I am your host, Hosanna Okorafo. Thank you for staying tuned. Now, back to our conversation. We often see human trafficking as something that has to do with Nigeria, or I don't know if Nigeria is just learning from the other countries where these things are really, going on, because sometimes it's not just about the sex and all of that. There are other exploitation. So do you think human trafficking of young girls is a unique issue to Nigeria, or is it a global concern?
It's not a unique issue to Nigeria, it's a global concern. It's all over the country. But I would say for Nigeria, it's a bit more on the high.
Okay.
Yeah, because of, like I stated the factors earlier, poverty, conflict, ethnicity, religious bias, and all that. So I feel that's the reason why human trafficking is more active in Nigeria. And most girls, based on, I don't know, I don't want to say some things, but is it they don't have fear, or they don't think before doing, before acting? Yeah, because there was a story I saw on TikTok, that was the day before yesterday. This 24-year-old girl went to visit a guy. Yeah, they met on TikTok. They started chatting.
Just met on TikTok?
Yes, they met on TikTok.
You just go to the person's house?
They've been chatting for a while.
Okay.
So she went to his house, and like her parents didn't hear for her for like 3 days. So they started looking for her. Now guess how they found her?
How?
She didn't tell anybody where she was going to. She didn't even tell a close friend. So one of her friends shares the TikTok account with her, her password and everything. That was how they had access to where she was. So the friend went into her TikTok account, checked her chats with people, and checked her chat with a particular guy, and the chat of how she was going to visit the guy in his house. Now,
how do you even leave your house without telling your parents or something? Or even
no, sometimes you want to be secretive. You want your privacy. It's good, but at the same time, for your own safety, at least you need to tell
somebody where you are going to.
Thank you. So now, if her friend didn't have access to her account, imagine what would have happened. So when the friend found out this is where she was through the chat, they reached out to the guy. That was when the guy brought the family, gave them the access to the hospital where they were. Now she has been bedridden for 3 days. Now, to my own discomfort, why didn't this guy look for her family for that 3 days that she was hospitalized?
3 whole days.
Thank you. So if her friend didn't have access to her account, what would have been the outcome?
Probably should have even been there 1 or 2 weeks and nobody was still.
Let me take you there. So when they got there, she couldn't even talk. She was just bedridden with bruises all over her body, and she was wearing a pampers because she has been bleeding non-stop. Now the only excuse, so she couldn't even say anything. The only excuse the guy gave was he woke up in the morning and he just met her like that. So the family said, okay, they'll come back the next day to hear some information from her. Maybe she can talk by then. By the time they came the next day, she was already dead. So they only have an explanation of what the guy
has to say.
Which
and
the guy just
lying?
Said they woke up in the morning and that is how he saw her. So I don't understand what kind of what kind of bleeding will make them wear her a
pampers.
Not even a baby pampers, like this
a big diapers.
Yes, this big diapers for pregnancy when you give birth.
Women, okay.
Yes, and the bruises all over her body, and she couldn't talk. You understand? So they are still on the case. They're still on the case. So you sometimes we want to have fun, we want to do some kind of crazy things. That's why I said young generation, Gen Zs of this generation. But you have to be very, very careful of people you're going to see without just telling anybody. So I feel it's an international, global thing. It's not just Nigeria, but it's more unique in Nigeria actually.
Well, I hope the NAP tip really tries to put a whole lot in place for this? Because I don't know, it feels like the more we are trying to cop this, the more it's
Well, I feel, for one, we are ignorant to a lot of things
Right.
in Nigeria till we start seeing a lot of outcome before we start taking precautionary
serious.
measures. Yeah.
well, now, despite the efforts by the government and NGOs and all of that, they've been putting NAPTIP in place. There are some other outside organizations who try to curb these things and who try to reduce this trafficking. Why does the trafficking of young girls continue to rise in Nigeria?
Okay. I feel socioeconomic issues plays a pivotal role. A
Okay.
lot of it persists because of a lot of complex factors, which gives this traffickers impunity, or will I say immunity, to what they do. So I feel if the 4 Ps of human trafficking should be really taken seriously,
The
it will really help.
Ps.
Yeah, which is for one, protection.
Okay, 4 Ps of
Yes.
human trafficking:
Yes.
protection,
Protection, partnership.
partnership.
Wait, protection, partnership, prosecution,
Okay,
and oh God, I've forgotten the last one.
we'll come back to that.
Okay, so for prosecution, I feel these traffickers should be killed on sight immediately.
Yeah, that's true, because I have not really heard talks about deterrence. Okay, they've been captured, this trafficker has been held, has been killed, or has been sent.
No, you need to make some kind of hard decisions to scare them, so that next time they don't even try.
about it,
Yes, think about it, because they know that, oh, once you're being caught, it's a death sentence.
yes.
You understand? So for protection, I think that is where the NAPTI you talked
Comes
about
in.
comes in. Yeah, because I think they have a law to protect this trafficked persons.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, they have a law to protect
Are
this.
these laws working, or do you think they need to adjust their laws or pass other bills to help?
I
Because
don't, I don't know, and I don't say anything about that. But for partnership, I feel, like you said, NGOs and the government, what are they doing? I feel they're doing a lot for government, because President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's government has really put a lot of women in the political space.
that can speak
Yeah,
up,
yeah, and we have a lot of initiative and programs which I have attended. Then that is beneficial for women.
Okay.
And I can tell you, like, most of the initiatives and programs I've attended, it has benefited in each program mostly up to 50 to 100. Yeah, ladies have benefited from this program. So for also NGOs, most NGOs are active, but not all. You understand? So for partnership, I feel the society also should support the government and these NGOs, you understand, to eradicate human trafficking. It's not just, you just leave it for just NGOs and government, you understand, to just handle it. We have to work as a whole to work together and, yeah.
Now, another angle I'm looking at is we need to curtail maybe the way we trust people, because there were stories I saw online that happened in Lugbe sometime, where a lady always entrusts a bike man to take her kids to school.
Okay.
He just comes, takes the kid to school, and that was all. That was it. She doesn't even know where this bike man is staying. Allegedly, because we don't know if, but allegedly that's what it was all about. She doesn't even know where this bike man is staying, but he comes, he's trusted, he even comes, sits down, eats, and he's been picking them for a while. One time he picked 3 of them, 2 girls, 1 boy, and till today they're still being looked for. At some point they now told her no need to even look for them. They said they had moved them inside a GP tank to another part and to take their organs. I don't know how this, like...
Okay, so you're talking about trust here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, one thing I believe in life is you can't do everything on your own
I
by
know.
yourself.
It's true, I know.
But at the same time, you can't
Okay.
say you can't trust. But the mistake we humans tend to make is we are ignorant.
Okay.
You understand? You need to learn from other people's experience. The fact a person, for the first time you tried that person, or the second time you tried that person, and that person delivered, does not mean that you can trust that person
All the
100%.
time.
You have to make sure you know this person to their homes. You understand? You have to make sure you know these people to their relatives. Now, I might tell you that what this bike man did, it's maybe we're having a suspicion here. Maybe something happened to the bike man with the kids. Only God knows. Or maybe truly he ran away with the kids.
He did.
But let's look at it the other way. Maybe what he was doing was he has been observing them for a while. He has been observing the woman and the children, timing how he could kidnap them when he can and all that. He looked at how careless and how trusting she
The
was
woman
of
can
him,
be.
and at the right time he struck. You know, they say keep your friends close but your enemies closer.
Yeah.
You understand? So I feel ignorance plays a very big role.
A very big role.
Yes, so you have to be very careful of who you trust. You have to know them to their homes. You have to really associate with the people around them, so that in case of anything
you know who to.
Yes.
All right, we'll take a quick break and we'll be back shortly. Welcome back from that break, and thank you for staying with us. So, Honorable Aisha has been, we've been talking about trust, talking about how we easily let people into our lives, because that's the genesis of how these things start happening.
Yeah.
You just trust people, they come to your house. You made mention about something about, knowing people around.
Yeah.
Now, that's one part I feel we need to do.
Yeah.
As humans,
Yeah.
because you just feel, okay, I know you. The recent times is there's people feel like, oh, if I have to know people around you, maybe I'm being too nosy, or I'm trying to know too much.
If you notice, when you're trying to ask questions and the person is being too defensive,
Right.
and this person wants to come close to you, then I feel it's already a red flag.
Okay.
Because you have a right to know who is coming around you, where he's coming from, the people he's associated with. So if that person is being too defensive, you understand, not wanting to communicate well with you, I feel you should not ignore that red flag. But like I said, we humans are ignorant to a lot of things. We only start reacting when we see issues. Like right now, you can see one beggar, two beggars, like people begging on the street, and you ignore it. You understand?
Right.
You don't take it serious. Now, when do you take it serious? When you see like 20 to 30 of them. That is when
You now start.
you start complaining of it. You understand? So I just remember the 4 P's, the last one, prevention.
Okay.
Yeah, we have prosecution, partnership, prevention, and how could I forget your other one? Please help me.
Prosecution.
Yeah, protection, prosecution, partnership, and
And
prevention.
yes.
So prevention, they say prevention is better than cure.
Cure, yeah.
Yeah, so you need to educate people, young girls especially, about this human trafficking. You have to be careful, even if you're walking on the street as a young girl, someone doesn't just tell you, come into my car, come into my house,
And sell
I have
for me,
money.
yeah.
I will give it to you. No, you stay outside and you do it. If you notice, there was a ritualist also of recent.
Okay.
That, in his community, it was also on social media, it trended like 3 days back.
Wow.
Yeah, he adopted a girl, not him directly, his goons. He wanted to use her for sacrifice. Now, what saved her was her scream. That was what saved her. So when they went to his house, people like, there were some vigilantes around in the bush. They saved her, took those goons, beat them up, and they confessed. And this man is well respected in his community. He's rich and well respected. So when they went to his house, he wasn't even around. Now they went and started searching. They saw, I don't know, well, let's say a pit or something. They started digging and everything. And the next thing, they saw dead bodies there, even a pregnant woman
that he just sacrificed not long ago. Her body was still fresh. You understand? So how does this abduction take place? This girl went with her father to the farm to work on something. And some people just came innocently and were like, please borrow us your cutlass, we want to fix our motorcycle. He borrowed it, and that was it. From that cutlass that they collected, that's how they adopted the girl. They hit him and everything.
Wow.
So we have to be very, very careful in Nigeria. Like, we have to educate our young girls on a lot of things. You understand? Now, and one last thing I want to talk about, you see those lack of basic needs. It's very important.
Very, very important.
If you look at it, I thought about something. I was like, example, female products are way expensive.
Yeah, some of
than
them.
the male products.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? And it's a similar thing that we use all the time. Example, shaving stick. What's so special about female shaving stick than male shaving stick? Female shaving stick, male shaving stick is the same thing.
And I'm also of the opinion that parts should be free. They should be given free. Why do we have to buy parts?
My sister.
Because most of those things can also lead to giving out free parts.
You
And
see, when you don't have access to those lack of basic needs, you understand, and someone is promising you materialistic gain, it's
it
also,
makes you
Yeah.
want to give into it. Yeah.
and you don't know the repercussion of that. Will I say greed or attraction of? So I feel women, especially young girls, really need to be taken into consideration. More education about human trafficking, trying to look at the products that we women buy.
Use, yeah.
Use. We have to, the price should be fair.
Now, thank you so much for your active participation and insightful conversation on this topic, because it's burdensome. And of course, we've dived into complexities of human trafficking, particularly its impact on young girls in Nigeria, from understanding the tactics that these people use in capturing the girl, luring you. When someone promises you something, I'm going to do this for you, I'm going to do that for you. Oh, let's go to Europe. And I know it's not just for the girls, but this segment we're talking about the girls, and we're still going to come back to how it affects the boys too. Those things look so real, and you're like, oh God, my help has finally come on. And voila.
Without making
You're
investigation
without
on who your
even-
helper is, or reaching out to necessary people to know what you're
My dear.
involved in.
Because of how it is, you just feel like, okay, God has answered my prayers. And that's why we also need the spirit of discernment to be able to, recognize these traffickers and the tactics, and how our families and communities play vital roles to, undercover lots of problems, and how we can even stay away from these things. Like you said, the 4 P's: prevention, prosecution, partnership, and, protection. We need to also work on how to protect women, how to protect our interests. The things that need to be free, the government should make them free. Like the parts and all of that, those things that can easily be used to, sway you and make you feel like, okay, this is something. These things need to be curtailed. We need to work on them so that these traffickers don't pose as helpers, because they often pose as helpers.
That's just
Don't-
it.
Yes,
Pose as helpers.
they often pose as helpers, exploiting the trust of families, because they come and tell your family, we have work, or this and that and all of that. And before you know, it's crazy. So it's crucial to remain vigilant and, often question, offers that seem too good to be true. And the National Agency for Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, have emphasized the importance of verifying information before making decisions that could put our loved ones at risk. Now, this conversation is not just going to stop here. It's a very big one. We're going to have a segment 2. Let's continue to stand together and raise our voice, and remember to take action when needed. Thank you so much for, staying with us on today's program and episode of Youth Hub. I am your host, Susanna Crawford. See you next time. Bye for now.